John Dramani Mahama MET the press na evidence MP etuja wo the state of the nation ma nsem chofo nso bu sebisa questions be baako was concerning Galamsey issues I koso wo man say na nsem anipa no bisa no Iwa John Dramani Mahama and somebody to Gano and said akoye asem kese da wo memu ha obia de nano atomo bi san say yes, I'm training the bisa about the fight against Galamsey. No, you are John Dramani response or the man no was a process and yes, is no victim declared a state of emergency on Galamsey. But over a year opposition no can something different say the only solution of it in their fight Galamsey no and declaring of state of emergency on Galamsey. But over time, no, see the one say a process. Now the latest person no they no have no. About to say a year and semi year, lawyer Poladom Orchard. Poladom I can send PR from a police some videos and some audios. See the current ministers and I say current President David John Dramani Mahama and some ministers away, especially the environmental minister. No, in symbiotic to draw, or a no more position say the only solution and another down for the victim. They fight Galamsey and it's already declared a state of emergency on Galamsey, but Obertanasono or yet be different. Now, my Yakubis are one summer was a process. Now, you see, I Obertanasono there a state of emergency no any Jumana. But I don't watch at the end, same P na a 2 and I answer me no Yabakoni Apakuti, Pola do watch and someone or catch and I say the comment I'll make you about. You are John Dramani, Erastus and Galamsey fight no a process. Untimin for a year, and will prepare and could declare a state of emergency.
But over the past 9 months since you became president, the turbidity levels in the water bodies have worsened, according to the Water Resources Commission. Ghana Water Company supports this by saying that they've had to shut down several treatment plants because the water sources are too polluted for them to process. Besides that, we know that there have been increased incursions into forest reserves for Galamsey. We've also heard from your transport minister that we are importing more excavators than ever before, over 200 a day. My question about this is about its effect on the economy. Recently, the finance minister has been touting the work of the Gold Board led by Sami Jemfi for being an anchor to the economy, especially when it comes to stabilizing the city. My question is, does your government know, is your government able to tell the difference between gold from Galamsey and gold from regular concessions, when the Gold Board is buying gold from local producers? And could it be, because so much of it comes from Galamsey, could that be the reason why we are seeing some reluctance recently in the fight against Galamsey, in the sense that the IGP's efforts have been stopped and he's brought back his men from the forests? Could this be because?
Thank you very much. I think your point is made.
The narrative that the Galamsey menace that we have been experiencing over the last 20 years can be stopped, ended, terminated by a presidential decision to impose a state of emergency. You can agree with that. A state of emergency would mean, like those of you who are old enough when COVID came, what we went through during COVID, you can't move, you can't this, you can't that, you can't that. So when you impose a state of emergency in the areas where there's Galamsey, it is illegal for people to be moving in those areas, and therefore the security forces take over, and people who are seen to be moving would have committed an offense. That's the point. That's the point about state of emergency. And it sounded very plausible and sensible to many of us who were worried about the Galamsey menace. Now, why doesn't the president just impose a state of emergency? A state of emergency is usually a final resort for something that you can't do anything about. And we all believe that at that time, 2022, 2023, we had gotten to the point where the government's efforts had failed, and therefore we needed to put a state of emergency and stop it. Let's watch these videos of some of the apologists of the NDC campaign and some of the anti-Akufo-Addo voices that insisted that a state of emergency was the way to go. Have a look.
They should declare a state of emergency. All mining should just stop now.
Yes, we have to declare a state of emergency.
Just as we declared lockdown during COVID, let there be a certain declaration of it. It shows seriousness.
Yes, I think that national emergency be declared now and today, not tomorrow.
President Akufo-Addo, stop Galamsey now! We will continue this fight and we will continue this struggle until our water bodies are protected.
It is his responsibility. The people of Ghana elected him. He is currently the president of Ghana. And it is his responsibility to deal with Galamsey now.
A few moments later.
You saw the video. Minister for Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, says, declare a state of emergency now, President Akufo-Addo. Current Minister for Education, Idrisu Haruna, a state of emergency must be declared now. The most significant, current Minister for Lands, the Honorable Ama Kofi Boa of Elembele, nice man. He said the only solution is to declare a state of emergency. Honorable Kofi Boa has become Lands Minister. Today, he's in charge of it. He thought that the solution was a state of emergency. He was clear in his mind, and we all agree with him that the solution is to declare a state of emergency. He's today Lands Minister. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa said that you have to declare a state of emergency not tomorrow, not 3 days' time, not next week, but now declare. Today he's Minister for Foreign Affairs. Sam Nate George led a demonstration with Ghana flag around him. Said that President Akufo-Addo must declare a state of emergency. Today, he's a Minister for Communication. The question was put to the president yesterday. Given the escalated concerns about Galamsey in terms of the damage that it is doing, it's doing more damage today than, if you do a year-on-year analysis, Galamsey is doing more damage in September 2025 than it did in September 2024. If you go to year-on-year, July 2024 to July 2025, you will find 2025 worse. Almost every indicator about Galamsey is worse today. Later on, I'll read to you Erastus Asare Donko's Facebook post, and you'll see it. So the question was put to His Excellency the President, who was running this campaign. Last night, this is what President John Dramani Mahama said.
I've been reluctant to implement a state of emergency in the Galamsey fight because we've not exhausted the powers we even have without a state of emergency. We have the opportunity to arrest anybody, to confiscate any such thing. There are laws for forest protection and all that give us enough powers to be able to act. Implementing a state of emergency might sound nice, but it should be the last extreme, the last resort. So for now, let's exercise all the powers we have. And if it becomes necessary for a state of emergency, then we'll look at it. It means we have to go to Parliament. The President can't just declare a state of emergency without, going to Parliament, because there's a limit to how long you can maintain that state of emergency. And so I believe that we still have leverage to continue to fight Galamsey without necessarily implementing a state of emergency. It means that we have to delineate the areas where the state of emergency is operational. And if you look at the area where Galamsey is taking place, it covers several districts of our country. And so we would do it if it becomes necessary. But for now, I think that we've given the security services enough powers to be able to deal with people who are found to be involved in Galamsey.
State of emergency is off the table. Earlier, before the press conference, Johnson Asare Dunkatia, the chairman of the National Democratic Congress, also indicated that the state of emergency was not something they were considering because it has economic implications. Yesterday, President Mahama addressed other economic implications, the employment situation created by Galamsey. If they do a state of emergency, all of these people are going to stay at home, they are going to contribute to robbery, etc. The jury is out there on the answers the president gave for the Galamsey issue. Let's see what some civil society actors said. First, we begin. Now, let me have the president. First, we begin with the president as it was over there. Yes, this is what was captured by 3 News. He said, I've been reluctant to declare a state of emergency in the Galamsey fight because we haven't exhausted the powers we even have without the state of emergency. I was listening to Joy this evening. I heard somebody from Forestry Commission really struggling to make the point. The interviewer was very hard on him. That what are you talking about? And civil society this morning or across the networks on radio stations have been very upset. They've been terribly upset. They're all very angry about the president's answers. What do they say? Do you have some for me? Let's go to the civil society one. They're going to put it up, and then we look at it. This is the first one. This is by Manasseh Azuri. It's not that long. Let's read it. President Mahama has been brilliant tonight. From his first term and now, President Mahama has always demonstrated a strong grasp on all the sectors. He is not the kind that can be easily fooled by a minister or an appointee. On Galamsey, however, he has been very disappointing. The decay did not start in the last 8 years of Akufo-Addo. As the president said, I was a journalist when President Mahama was president. In his first term, I did not see the seriousness in fighting the menace, and his body language doesn't seem to show that it will be any different. The land that is destroyed because of Galamsey can produce food crops, so we should stop creating the impression that the only alternative to illegal mining is deviant acts, as the president said. Why disband the IGP's task force instead of just asking them to verify permits when they visit a site? Which sites did the task force invade that turned out to be a legitimate mining concession? Mr. President, so far you have done well. Ghanaians are beginning to hope again in many sectors, but he was always going to come. He was very aware. Unless after listening, I don't get that word, but after listening to you tonight in the fight against Galamsey, I feel more hopeless after listening to you tonight. That is from investigative journalist Manasseh Azuri telling President Mahama that after the answers he heard the president give, he, Manasseh, feels hopeless. Okay, this one is my best. It comes from Suleiman Brima, who is the Media Foundation for West Africa's executive secretary. He says, Akufo-Addo fought Galamsey harder than Mahama's current government. Suleiman Brima fires. The other day, I said, one day, it's turning out to be sooner than I thought. We will come back and talk about Akufo-Addo. One day, very soon, when things settle, and we now can feel, and I've seen it. I saw the berating of J.A. Kufuor in 2008, what everybody said. Today, everybody says Kufuor is a hero. We will come back and see that sometimes the heat of the situation, sometimes the anti-propaganda, which can be vile, can even be evil, it can cloud our imaginations given the economic circumstance. And then it sort of takes away the real judgment that we should deliver. Otherwise, how is Suleiman Brima? I'm not done with Suleiman Brima. Let me finish with him. How is Suleiman Brima talking about Akufo-Addo in a positive light in reference to John Dramani Mahama? It is only because he has seen John Dramani Mahama's governance, he's seen Akufo-Addo's governance, and so he sits in a position to be able to do the analysis. And in his context, relating to Galamsey, which is one of the pivotal points for which the NPP lost the election, one of the pivotal points for which Dr. Bawumia was outvoted and people didn't even turn up, one of the pivotal points which was heaped on Akufo-Addo, and it was said that Akufo-Addo's presidency is the worst that Ghana has ever had. Worst that Ghana has ever had. The one who introduced a major social intervention policy. They said that his government is the worst that Ghana has had. And that was heaped on Dr. Bawumia, of course. Today, in September, Suleiman Brahma says, Akufo-Addo fought Galamsey harder than Mahama's current government. Ooh. Is it true? I don't believe it. Is it true? Let's go to Ken Ashigbe, what he said. Ken Ashigbe said something. Yes. He said, the story is that, he says, President Mahama's response on Galamsey fights is disappointing. The Ghana Coalition of Galamsey has criticized President John Dramani Mahama's response to the country's ongoing illegal mining crisis, describing his comments during Wednesday's presidential encounter as uninspiring and failing to reflect the urgency of the environmental emergency facing the nation. That's Ken Ashigbe. I'm not saying much. I'm just relying on people. This is the most interesting one. It's by Erastus Asare. And please get me the Shamima Muslim's response to the thing, the one I sent. We'll do that. A post of 2024 about Galamsey. And Shamima has written a response. I like viewers to see that. Shamima Muslim is the deputy government spokesperson at the office of the president. Miracles Abuaje is Dr. Bawumia's spokesperson. Erastus Asare, a journalist who has distinguished himself and gained significant reputation for focusing on environmental issues, and he's almost the authority on Galamsey in terms of reporting and in terms of knowing what is really happening. And I'm happy that the coalition works with him and everyone works with him. I'm happy that multimedia have given him a space to be able to do the environmental thing. This is very, very nice. I like that. Erastus Asare, congratulations. He says as follows: the president did not inspire hope and urgency in the fight against Galamsey. He watered down on a very precious situation, just as he has done always. I don't know whether that's fair. He said he watered down on a very precious situation, just as he has done always. The always parts, I'm not sure about it. Erastus, always means what? Yes, precarious. He watered down a very precarious situation, just as he has done always. It's the always that I'm concerned about. The always, I don't know where it's coming from, but I don't know how fair that is. Let's move on. His posture reflected complicity on the infractions on the ground, whistling down a decapitation to a broken arm. I totally disagree with him on the withdrawal of the IGP's men and accusing them of not knowing the difference between legal small-scale miners and illegal miners. That is a total fallacy. It shows, Erastus says, that is either the president was ill-briefed about the situation in the ground, or he was totally clueless of what happens on the ground. Or maybe he is also joining the bandwagon of deliberate spinning of falsehoods in a bid to give the dog a bad name to hang it, unquote. Erastus goes further. He says, I challenge the president to name a single licensed small-scale mining entity that is mining responsibly on the ground. What is a small-scale mining entity doing, he asked, in a forest reserve when the law does not give permits to same to mine in a forest reserve? Who licensed small-scale mining companies to be mining inches away from the rivers Pra, Ankobra, Tano, Ofin, Ayensu, Bia? Ofin and the others were the task force. Ofin and the others where the task force arrested them. In a normal civilized society, it is not the police that is clothed with law enforcement. In a normal civilized society, he asked, is it not the police that is clothed with law enforcement? How different are nature crimes? Quote, every policeman gets up and goes after illegal miners. By, unquote. By implication, he's saying that nature crimes are no longer crimes at the local level unless identified by NIMOS. That's the Blue Water people, I believe. Is the president respectfully asking local police to stay away from nature crimes, and for that matter, Galamsey, just like it happened under the previous administration? It's equally disappointing to hear the president say, quote, we can't be chasing after them when we have not provided them alternatives, unquote. Excuse me to say, he says, it's just like telling the armed robbers, money doublers, and scammers to continue with their criminal activity until government finds employment for them. I'm sorry, he says. This is not the president of a country that has more than 60% of its water bodies polluted and laden with heavy metals. This, he continues, is not the president of a country with 44 of its forest reserves attacked in a spate of 8 years. He says further, this is not the president of a country whose towns and villages and highways have been taken over by haphazard illegal mining. This is not the president of a country whose muddy rivers are polluted the sea. This is not the president of a country whose forest reserves are turning into miles of pits and gullies waiting for another generation to seek loans to reclaim them. This is definitely not the president of a country whose newborn babies are registering childhood cancers, deformities, and strange ailments from irresponsible mining. This is not the president of a country that is worried about the grave environmental suicide, crippling cocoa production, and contaminating its cocoa exports. The IGP's men did a good job. They were fearless. They have their flaws, but they brought the nonsense under control. Mr. President, some of your party executives and appointees who were not happy with the way they were pouring sand in their gari started a propagandist agenda to give the dog a bad name and to hang it. Today, as I write after the president's submissions and compromised, in quote, compromised position on Galamsey, many illegal miners are meeting in Stonebowy and other areas. They say they've been asked to go back and erode the gains we made. Let's serve a warning. Mr. President, you are repeating the mistakes of the previous regime and you know the consequences. I find it a bit lame, some of your answers to the questions on Galamsey. We all know that Blue Water Guard is not the solution to mining on water bodies. The solution lies in a strong statement that certain areas are no-go areas for mining. My worry is that we have a citizenry so divided by partisan politics that they reason like blind people to the truth about their very existence. The future of generations is being decimated. Instead of looking at the bigger picture, many Ghanaians are minding their own business. Those who speak are only seeking partisan leverages to please the political class. Some of us will continue to push strongly the situation on the ground and do our bit as journalists. The media we have consistently is failing this country. If only we would be serious about this, we could help push us all towards responsible mining. An epistle from the very disappointed, frustrated, and angry journalist in the mines, Erastus Asare of the multimedia group. Previous regime as well.